Hi everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill. You are used to seeing this flower bed filled to the max with all kinds of annuals and perennials. You know, this bed gives me a great deal of joy. I love having all of the different colors and types of flowers. And you know, diversity is so important in all kinds of gardens. Now, these plants attract birds, pollinators, and butterflies, and that is awesome. But I'm up to a little bit of mischief today because I have decided this bed needs a little bit of a redo. So let me show you what I'm up to. You probably thought this flower bed looked perfectly fine and did not need anything done to it. But actually there's a couple of problems I had that I really needed to address. And I've been dragging my feet about them because I knew it was going to need quite a bit of work. But you'll notice I have this big span of bare ground now, so I have been busy, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not taking a before picture. But the problem was two types of invasive plants. One was gooseneck loosestrife, and anybody who knows about the Lysimachia genus knows that it tends to be rather exuberant in its growth. What started out as a plant about this big went all of this way, all the way into here, and over into here. And it was like, okay, I can't keep up with this plant. It's causing more problems than it's worth. Now, gooseneck loosestrife is darling because when it's in bloom, it looks like a gaggle of geese. It attracts pollinators, which is awesome, but it was too invasive. So I had to dig it out very carefully. It has thick, fleshy roots known as rhizomes, and they spread absolutely everywhere. As a matter of fact, they even went under this back part of the bed and into the lawn. I mean, enough is enough. The other plant that was a problem is David phlox. That is the white phlox, and you'll notice I have some in the background there. Now, for some reason down there, it behaves itself. And so I'm going to leave that in there, although I might cut it back a little bit. But it was also all through this bed, and it seemed like no matter how much I tried to dig it up, it always came back. They have very fibrous roots, and that can be a real problem to get out of the soil. So I have fingers crossed on that one. So let's look at a couple of other things that I need to take into consideration with this redo. Now, before I proceed, there's one other plant I wanted to let you know about because it's been a real troublemaker for me, and that is clustered bellflower, which is a type of campanula. This thing spreads all over the place, and so I have been pulling them out of this bed. I still have one other area to get, and I'm going to have to really be diligent about it next year because that's when I'm going to start seeing what's coming up again that I don't want. So keep in mind that clustered bellflower can be a problem. When you're designing a flower bed, it's really important to take into consideration where the water for the bed is going to come from. So for example, maybe the sprinklers run along the front of the bed and they're going to be spraying towards the back. So you would want shorter plants in the front going up to taller plants for the back. Now, I'm lucky in that we have water coming from sprinklers from the north side of the bed and from the south side of the bed, so I can mix up the heights of the plants a little bit. But when you're at a nursery picking out your plants, make sure that you take a good close look at the plant tags to see what the mature height of the plants will be. If you're starting out with a brand new bed, or even doing a little bit of a remodel like I am, this is a great time to add in some nice amendments to the soil. So I've got this great opportunity with this large space to add in some organic compost, a little bit of composted manure, and I'm even going to put in a little bit of mushroom compost. I don't use a lot of that last one because it can change the pH to more alkaline. So I'm just going to add in a little bit, but it's a nice opportunity to do something nice for the soil. Now, I haven't bought all of my new plants yet, and it's so exciting to do this, but I did want to show you what I've gotten so far. And then I'm trying to patiently wait for the Friends of Manitou Fall Plant Sale because that is a big deal every fall in Spokane. And once I've been there, I'm going to show you the plants that I picked up. But in the meantime, I started out with this beautiful panicum or switchgrass, and this one is called Red Hot. It has beautiful blades in here that are sort of a bronzy burgundy color. I think that's going to be gorgeous. It will grow about 3 feet tall. And you know, when you're buying plants for a flower bed, I think it's good to buy multiples because it makes a bigger impact. Well, it just so happens I have another switchgrass that this is going to go next to, and this one is called Apache Rose. And so I think the two of them will look really nice together. I also bought 2 agastaches. This is also known as hyssop, hyssop mint, hummingbird hyssop. It's got a lot of names, but this one is called sunset hyssop. It has flowers that are in beautiful sunset colors. The leaves, the stems, and the flowers have a wonderful fragrance, and this is a hummingbird magnet, so I'm definitely excited about having them. This is going to grow about 36 inches tall as well. Now check out these gorgeous coneflowers. Aren't they beautiful? So this one is called Sombrero Lemon Yellow Improved. I think the flowers are gorgeous, and they are going to attract pollinators and butterflies. This is going to grow 16 to 20 inches tall, and it's nice because it's hardy down to zone 4B, and so that's great for our area because we have a pretty cool spot. And then last but not least, and I only bought one because that was all the nursery had, is this penstemon or beard tongue. And you see this little flower here. These are tubular shaped, which hummingbirds love. And so this guy is just going to be 10 to 12 inches tall, so he's not going to block anybody. I'm going to put him near the front somewhere in this bed. But I just love attracting hummingbirds, so it's going to earn its keep. Now, all of these plants need to grow in full sun, and that's definitely what I have here. So when you're buying plants, again, go back to that plant tag and always match the light conditions to the conditions you have in your flower bed. Well, I have just come back from the Friends of Manitou fall plant sale, and as you can see, I scored some awesome plants. So I want to just go through them so you'll see what I chose and why I chose it. So first of all, and you can't really see a flower yet on this, but this is a monarda or bee balm, and it is called Purple Rooster. This is awesome for attracting hummingbirds, and one of the reasons I selected this cultivar is because it is resistant to powdery mildew. And if you grow bee balm, you know that powdery mildew can be a real problem with them. So I'm going to see how this one does, and I'm very excited about it. Now this one is going to grow up to 3 feet in height, so I need to be careful where I put it, and it is hardy down to zone 4, which is great. Now this cool plant is Crocosmia, and you've probably seen it before. Look at this beautiful flower here, and this is also a hummingbird magnet because I'm all about the hummingbirds this year. So this one is Lucifer, that's the red one. It does come in kind of a golden yellow and an orange. This one grows in zone 5, and it will get about 40 inches tall. So I think this is going to add an interesting structure and texture to the bed. Now this little guy here is called Bettany. It's also Stachys macrantha. And this is one that intrigued me because it has spikes of purple rose blossoms, which I think is great. This is hardy down to zone 4. It is going to get, let's see, about 24 inches tall. And so I think that's going to make a nice addition to the flower bed. I got 2 of these lovely hyssops or agastaches. I've mentioned that in the last part of my video. And this one is called Blue Boa. Each of these are the same cultivar. This is one that is hardy down to zone 5, also a hummingbird magnet, and it is going to grow 16 to 32 inches tall. So that'll be nice. Now, I've always loved sedums or stone crops. They are really tough plants. They can be drought tolerant once they're established, which is nice. And so this one you can see has a variegated leaf. It is called Frosted Fire, It's hardy down to zone 3. I just love finding cool plants that are super hardy. So this one needs to be in full sun, and it will grow 12 to 15 inches tall, so it can be closer to the front of the bed. Okay, I have grown Gaillardia or blanket flower before. I love this plant. Boy, does it draw in the pollinators. And so this one is called Arizona Apricot. Really nice color. And this one is, let's see, it's going to be about 12 inches tall. It has a mounding growth habit, which is attractive. And it is very easy to grow. So I have a couple other in this bed, and so I decided to add this one in as well. Now this one wasn't on my shopping list, you know how that goes, but it called out to me. So this is a penstemon or beard tongue, and it is one that hummingbirds absolutely love. So this is a nice red, as you can see, in those tubular flowers that they love. So this one is called Cherry Sparks. It's hardy down to zone 5, and it has a longer blooming system, which I think is great. Got noisy cars going by. Good grief. Okay, so this one is going to grow up to 20 inches tall, so that's a very nice height. And it's also drought tolerant. Okay, you know me and cone flowers. I've probably never met one that I didn't love immediately. So this is one that is called cantaloupe. You can look at that color here. I'll hold it a little more steady. And I think that that is just gorgeous. So this one is hardy down to zone 4. And I'm looking for the height here. I don't see it. But I think it's just maybe about like 18 inches or so. So that's a nice size. And last but not least is this other sedum. This one is Sedum telephium, and the cultivar name is Marina. I'm really excited because the leaves are sort of a bronzy burgundy, and the flower heads are a dark rose. So that should look really cool. It's hardy down to zone 4, and it will grow about 12 inches tall. So now I'm finally at the fun and also challenging point of deciding where I want all of these wonderful plants to go. It's so important that we think about the growth habit of each plant. So at the risk of harping on going back to that plant tag, I want to remind you to look at the tag to see how wide the plant is going to grow. So obviously, if you have a plant that's going to be 2 feet wide, you don't want to plant a whole bunch of other things right next to it, because that's going to cause you trouble down the road. Instead, I want to put them all with their proper spacing. My goal ultimately is to have no soil showing, because the more the perennials cover the soil, the less weeding I'm going to have to do. So that is really important to me. But the other thing I'm going to do is to look at the plants. What color is their foliage? What color will their flowers be? And just see what plants that are already in this bed are going to look nice next to them. So I'm going to get to work now. Okay, I'm kind of playing with the layout. I'm pretty happy with it, but I think that I'm going to have to mull it over for an hour while I eat lunch. That's an important thing, is always to have a break. But I'm trying to play off some of the colors and just see how they look. So the first plant I'm going to put in is this hot rod switchgrass. And it can get 2 feet wide. So I'm trying to do a really good job of spacing my plants. So I've brought out this yardstick, and I've figured out that this is about the center of 24 inches from this other switchgrass. Now I have dug a hole, and you just carefully pop the plant out of its pot. And if it has a lot of winding roots, you want to try to break them up a little bit, spread them apart, so that the roots don't continue to grow in a circle. And then the goal is to have the depth of the hole be the same depth as the plant that was in the pot. So this is pretty darn close. And I'm just going to fill in the hole. And make sure that there are no air pockets around the root system. And that's how I'm going to plant each plant. I'm going to hide the tag behind each one because sometimes it's really hard to remember the names. So that'll help. That's not too ugly. And then once I have everything planted, I'm going to water them in well. Again, that's to get the plants off to a good start and to make sure there are no air pockets around the root system. I got everything all planted, and guess what I just discovered? I've got room for one more plant. Yay! But the next step for all of these plants is for me to water them in well so that they don't get stressed from this whole planting process. What's next for this bed? Well, I'm intending to order some specialty bulbs, and I'm going to do my darndest to plant them so they look very natural. I'm excited about that, and I'll certainly share that with you when the time comes. I hope you enjoyed this whole process. Happy gardening!